hang in. You all should be there, turn and look at them. Because they're going to be hungry. And then you're going to ask this question. Why them and not me? Because that's really the black. That's really the black. I'm going to tell this thing very honestly. All of you are guilty of one thing. Not all of you are cheesy. You're all cheesy. Okay? You want to do any kind of relationship. That's why it's cheesy. Right? So what you and I will do? Only that late. Right. That's my mind. Except you see, you never see. Right? Let me ask this is so better. How yo. No. When you like that. Because all love the hand carries. It's too and but trouble outside it shows that you're like and you go play. You put the head every up. And the way up. And more than not, your head can not even right with you. You head and we space my mind. And you got an easy idea. Who knows what like that? I'll tell you how much this is. Yes. We are honored and privileged to have the federal judge as trust and tell you. We have got no clue of how this is a federal judge. We have no clue. And we are so privileged to have him to come and stand his time for us. I will leave it there for society.
Thank you for gracing us with your presence. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Justice Dr. Lee Smith. On behalf of the CC, I extend a warm welcome to your Mario, to all our special guests, and each and everyone who joined us today. At ACC, we are committed to providing holistic education and meaningful experiences to our students. The ACC Legal Careers Fair is an annual networking platform designed to connect employers, seasoned professionals, and aspiring legal practitioners, fostering opportunities for collaborations, guidance, and career advancement. Following the success of our previous editions, we are honored to welcome you to the AACC Legal Careers Fair. We trust this event will be a valuable and rewarding experience for all. So without further ado, to officially start our event, I am pleased to invite Mr. Kevin Long, Managing Director of ATC, to deliver the welcome speech.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's my great honor and privilege to welcome all of you to ATC's Health Campus Society. For all the nine and regular guests, I would like to welcome you back. It's good to see you again. For those who are here for the first time, I hope this is the first of many. I'm sure you'll find this event a fruitful one, whether you are representing a firm or you are attending as a student who is hoping to get a start or real. The ATC Legal Career Fair 2025 is 8th edition of the event and the third one at our new campus. Campus new here. many of lawyers here were familiar with our own campus of Jalan Bukit. I'm proud to say that it is a perception of event. We have expanded our event to now be known as the Careers Week in 2025. We had a week of talks on relevant topics that help our students in their careers. We had sessions on networking, interview and CV writing skills, and an experience sharing session on how to run your own criminal law practice. All of this accumulated in today's event, where we have 26 law firms and organizations participating, and we expect more than 250 law students and law graduates to attend. I'm confident that the ATC Legal Careers Fair will be an event that is mutually beneficial for the attendees as well as the law firms. I would like to especially welcome and thank Dato' Lee Swee Seng, Distinguished Judge of the Federal Court of Malaysia, for agreeing to deliver the lectures today to our students and other participants of the event. Your presence and speech here will certainly inspire our young students. It has always been our philosophy here at ATC that we must produce graduates that not only excel in their exams, but also graduates that are industry ready. As such, we have started many initiatives where we try to bring the industry to our students. The Legal Career Week is an obvious example, but I'm also proud of the Legal Aid Clinic that we have started 2 years ago. Our students are given very practical training by a panel of lawyers. They will then volunteer their services at various places. Today, they have volunteered at the Pink Triangle Foundation, Women's Aid Organization, and at the KL Bar Legal Aid Center. This gives our students an incredible experience that they will never get in a lecture hall. Another initiative that we are very proud of are our internship programs. Our Student Representative Council has initiated an internship program this year with 4 different law firms. Some of the firms are here today. We have sent students for internship with TJ Magistrates Court, Deloitte Malaysia, and Transparency International, just to name a few. Dato', one of our students is actually interning in your office. Her name is Rachel. She is actually our University of London LLB student. Events such as the Legal Career Fair are also an avenue to give our students opportunity to gain practical experience. Finally, an initiative that is always ongoing at ATC are lectures and workshops by practitioners and leaders who are experts in their respective fields. This will give our students an idea of what actual practice is all about and get them excited about what awaits them post-graduation. These talks are held regularly and have proven to be very useful to our students. The highlight in this past year were forum discussion with Tun Mahathir Mohamad, Tun Lim Kit Siang, various members of parliament and state legislature, senior partners at law firms, and more. It also makes me happy to see so many familiar faces who are former students of ATC and have returned today as managing partners, senior associates with various law firms in Malaysia. I urge all our current students to talk to them and their colleagues to see what you can achieve as well if you put in the hard work. To all the law firms and organizations here today, I want to thank you for taking the time to be here. I'm very keen to cultivate a more regular relationship between your firm and our students. I would like to thank the many firms that have supported and sponsored the activities that we have at ATC. They have also provided opportunities to our students in the form of scholarships, internship, pupillage positions, and employment. If you would like to offer your assistance and add value to our students, please get in touch with me or anyone from my team and we will make it happen. We are also happy to share with you our ideas and see how we can make the next generation of law graduates more industry-ready. As a direct result of our engagement after the Legal Careers Fair last year, we had a few firm visits organized for our students from the participating firms, and we had multiple talks on various areas of practice. I hope to see more of that stemming from this year's fair. Before I end, I'd like to record my gratitude to the faculty and staff of ATC who have worked very hard to make today's event a success. I'll make special mention of Ms. Kashmirjit. I'm sure the students as well as the participating firms are familiar with her. She is the driving force behind today's event. But as I'm sure she will admit as well, she would not have been able to do it without the strong team behind her. So thank you once again to everyone here.
Thank you, Mr. Kevin. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to briefly introduce our guest of honor, Young Arif Datuk Lee Swee Seng. Young Arif was appointed as a Judicial Commissioner in 2010 and was then made a Judge of the High Court in 2014, and he was subsequently elevated to the Court of Appeal in 2019. In May 2025, his Lordship was elevated to the Federal Court. With such a wealth of judicial experience, we are confident that His Lordship's insights today will offer invaluable perspectives and enrich the purpose of this exhibition. It is now my privilege to invite Young Arif Datuk Lee Swee Seng to deliver today's keynote speech. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Young Arif Datuk Lee Swee Seng.
A very good morning to one and all. Or is it good afternoon already? Yes, it's good afternoon. Sometimes you lose all sense of time, you know. Mr. Kevin Leong, Managing Director for ATC. Dr. Kevin Joshua, Advisor to ATC and Managing Partner of Kevin & Co. Lecturers, tutors of ATC, students of ATC, alumnus member of ATC, law, aspiring law students, law graduates, advocates and solicitors of the High Court of Malaysia. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope all of you are covered in my salutations. I'm very glad to be here this morning, or this afternoon, to share with you a little bit of insights into future lawyers. We are not very good at taking a peek into the future, but we try to, because the future is where we shall live the remaining of our lives. When I was a law student like you, I looked forward to judges visiting us from time to time to share with us their experience of the law. And I was once like you, not too sure whether I picked the right course, wanting to be good, but then not too sure whether I would be. And we tried to find our way around the law. And it was not until the end of the final year that we think we are quite ready to begin our law practice. And as we are thrown into the real world of working life, we find that what we have studied in law school can be woefully inadequate, not because the lecturers were not good, but because law involves so many things that you can only learn through practice. But with a strong grounding in the theory of the law and in some practical aspects of the law in the procedural papers, perhaps that would put you in a good position to venture into practice and take the challenges as they come. Now, law is a very popular subject. If you look at this PowerPoint, this is the figure from the Malaysian Bar website. In 2012, there were about 14,000 of you in Peninsula Malaysia. In 2024, the figure has gone to about 23,000, some 60% growth. You might wonder why. My theory for this is this: when I was your age, I was mesmerized by Crown Court. Any one of you watch Crown Court?
To this day, if you Google, search under YouTube Crown Court, you still have some very old episodes. Listen to them for whatever it's worth. And so every Saturday evening, I think it was about 9:50, 9:30 RTM2, I will be glued to the white and black TV. You all haven't seen the white and black TV perhaps, but that was my time. And then with a piece of paper and a pencil, I would write down some expressions of law that I have not come across, or some expressions that were used by counsel as they cross-examined the witness. So when one counsel says, that's a shred of lies, at that age, it was the first time I came across words like a shred of lies, so I quickly took it down. And then one guy was asked to explain, how does a computer work? He says, my lord, a computer works with the luxury of numbers, not more than one. I say, what a wonderful way to explain the binary system of 0 and 1. So I quickly jotted that down. And then one counsel put it to the witness, I put it to you that you owe the accused a debt of gratitude. I've heard of a debt of money, but not a debt of gratitude. So I quickly write it down. And that's how I thought maybe I should be able to improve my English and speak well enough without referring to notes as I grow up. But that was my introduction to the awesomeness of the law, and how at the end of it all, after hearing one side, you believe that side. After hearing the other, you believe the other side. And then you don't know how to decide. And so you look forward to the judge to give directions and how the jury and the judge decide at the end of the day. And then later on, we had paper chase. Later on, more dramatized thing like LA Law. We have Law and Order. I'm not too sure what is the movie of your time where law is concerned. Is it Suits? I'm not too sure. Yeah. And I was just Googling K-drama law. It shows me so many things. There's extraordinary, what do you call, Anthony Wu. Have you seen? I haven't. I only saw one, but it was quite relevant, even though it was a civil law jurisdiction. And then there is one Beyond the Bar. I had no time to watch it, but perhaps you might want to. And then there is Divorce Lawyer Shin. I don't know whether you have watched all this. But plenty of things for you to watch. It's just that all these are dramas. It is not that there is no truth in dramas. It is just that the daily grind of legal work has such as not watch every moment. Perhaps you might want a magical moment. And then there is divorce. Not every moment is just watch all this. And so you have but plenty of things for you to watch. It's just that meaning all these are dramas. So it's not that you days where you sit down and it's just that the daily grind of every day's work you have to sit down and look through your activities. You have to just ask you, what are the facts of the case like every moment? But you get a feel of the law. But I suppose your sign of law. It's just that you have a pattern drama. Right? So it's not that you days where you sit down and just that what is reasonable. That's continue. So if there is anybody in this world who should be more effective teachings of law and justice, it should be you, aspiring law students. It's just that let's move on. Changes that have been brought about by technology. I like to elect quotable codes. So if there is anybody who can follow my effective electoral quotable codes for this day, because you don't know when you need to use this. Someone might ask you to just address the audience, and perhaps you can start off with some codes. One of the changes that have been brought, never stepped into the same by river of I like to select never the same codes. So when I heard of it, I thought, hey, that's a brilliant way of telling follow my offensive electoral because you don't know when you need to use it. Someone might ask you to the audience, and perhaps you can start when I was practicing, one of the changes that was no offense to the same by so you can find it is like a letter, never the same. So there is such a document here, right there of the principle. That's a brilliant. These days, fax machines there was no email there, and if you have an email account, wow, you are really that good. And people start experimenting. I'll send you an email, as if that is such a momentous moment. But never mind. And people say, I think it was Richard Susskind who said this, in time to come, lawyers will communicate with their clients via email. And people say, no, that will take away the dignity of the law. But these days, you cannot do anything seriously, effectively, without this kind of communication via email and via Zoom. I once tell my friends, my work requires me to go to my chambers and then from there to go to court and hear cases. I cannot work from the home. And I was more than glad to have been proved wrong during the pandemic. I could do everything from A to Z from my home, whether it be reading the applications for the day, whether it be hearing witnesses, whether it be hearing submissions, and whether it be delivering decision. I could do all aspects of my work from the home. I say, wonderful. And this is the marvel of technology. It accelerates change, it accelerates growth. Now, we all live in the continuum of time. What was once the future is now the present, and what is the present today will very soon be the past. But we keep abreast with what is happening in the world, because if we don't, then we'll be left far behind. Now, what are some of these changes? You have played, you have experimented with AI. If you looked into my phone, I have Claude, I have DeepSeek, I have ChatGPT, I have Gemini, I have Copilot. Oh, what else did I not have? Oh, I have Notebook LM also. How many of you have played with Notebook LM? Raise your hands. Oh, you have. One, two, not that many. I was kind of blown away, because one day I uploaded the submissions of the parties, and then I say, summarize for me the brief facts of the case. And it did that just in a minute, less than that. And for every line of what it says, there is a footnote as to where to find it in the documents uploaded. Then I say, summarize for me the arguments of both parties. And in just a second or so, it could summarize for me. And then I say, convert it into a podcast. And within 5 minutes or so, it gives me a podcast of a man talking to a woman about the subject matter of what I've uploaded. I know people like you, students, you always have your earphone with you, isn't it? Huh? You go to the gym, you go for a walk, you do 1,000 other things, you wait for your transport, and you could just switch on your podcast and revise your lecture notes or what have you. The opportunities are tremendous for learning in a fun way. They talk about the gamification of everything you learn, everything is like a game. And when you ask ChatGPT, there is now a function called deep research. How many of you have used deep research before? You only use the main part of the Q&A, is it? There is one column called deep research. It will take about 10-15 minutes or so, but it gives you a more accurate answer. So if you don't use AI, you'll be left behind. But if you use AI, use it wisely, because like all human research assistant, an AI research assistant can make mistakes. You are aware of the word hallucination. When it hallucinates, it creates cases that looks real. Pemunggut Hasil Tanah Malaysia with a citation to the exact page. When you look it up, it's not there. And the lawyers in the US have been fined, in one case 5,000 for misleading the court with respect to the authorities cited. Don't think the problem is confined to the West. It has come to our shore. One day before us, one counsel submitted his written submission with a list of references to cases. The other side say, please give me your bundle of authorities. It wasn't forthcoming. And the reason was not difficult to find. There were no such cases, all right? And the other counsel who did this didn't even have the audacity or perhaps the courtesy to say, I'm sorry. And so when you send a junior lawyer, we have to tick off the lawyer and say, if it happens again, we have to refer you to the Advocates and Solicitors Disciplinary Board, or we may even find you guilty of contempt for misleading the court and for abuse of the court's process by submitting non-existing cases. So you have been forewarned, whatever that ChatGPT or other AI large language model give you, always verify. Because if you don't, and if it is found out, you'll be found to be misleading the court, and I'm not too sure whether you want to receive that kind of punishment that comes with it for not being vigilant enough in your work to check the veracity of what you have given to the courts. I want to move on to setting up a legal office. When I talk to my friends and when I talk to myself, yes, sometimes you talk to yourself. It's not that you have gone cuckoo, but it's just that you do some self-reflection. Many of us feel that perhaps we should have stayed longer in the legal firm where we were working before we launch out. A lot of us want to be independent. Like all things, there are pluses, there are minuses, there are merits and demerits. But these days, entry cost is very low. They always say you're starting a law office, it is easy to start, but difficult to kind of wind down and close it down because every file has its history. But if you look at the Bar Council rulings on virtual office, you find that the cost can be very low indeed. A lot of people have what is called shared services, and they have personalized kind of phone call. They have a cubicle if you need a cubicle or moving the mobile space. And if you need to meet clients there, you can just book a conference room of different sizes. And then the address is all there. And Bar Council says, yes, that's a valid way to begin a law practice, provided you have a proper place for service of documents. And so these days you can work from wherever you may be with your notebook or your laptop and have a virtual office. But be very careful because unless you have access to a host of other resources, you will find that a single solo lawyer would have its challenges. So make sure that you also subscribe to a vast resource of law journals and law books where you can make sure that you consult these various resources when it comes to giving opinion or preparing a case for your client. Now, while certain things have changed, other things remain constant. And these are things with respect to competence and character. If you read our friend's book on 7 Habits of Effective People, Stephen Covey spoke of competence and character. We need both. No point hiring a very competent lawyer, but he has no character, and so you're not too sure whether he will maintain confidentiality with respect to whatever that you have told him, or that your money parked as a stakeholder in his stakeholder's account would be safe. You can have character, but then if you're not competent in your work, you can't take the client very far. Now, technology may be neutral, or perhaps it has some inherent biasness because of the way it has been programmed. But whatever it is, it can't transform your character. Character is what you have from the years that you have perhaps acquired certain good values. And then when it comes to your professional life, you bring up whatever is expected of you, and then you make sure you carry these values of trustworthiness and honesty with you wherever you go. There will be challenges you face in your practice. There are a lot of clients who ask you to do a lot of things, and you have to learn to say, no thank you, I don't do that. And they'll respect you for it. Whereas if you fall into that temptation, they will say thank you, but they will tell the whole world about what you have done. And they say, even if you borrow money from somebody in Malaysia, somehow people in Singapore also would know about it. I don't know how news travels so fast. So whatever you do in this world, where things can get viralized, things travel very fast with respect to what you do as a lawyer, be it the right thing or be it the wrong thing. So we have come across clients that says, that 5% stakeholder money at the end of the housing project, can you release to us first, even though you're supposed to hold as stakeholder? Because we can give you a counter undertaking that if such a sum of money is needed for rectification work, we'll pay you back. And of course, if you say no, you won't get more work, but that's quite all right, because you'll survive on some other work. But if you say yes, it's a breach of your solicitor's undertaking that you should retain that sum of money only to be released when the event for it is due. We have come across clients who say, you prepare 2 sale and purchase agreements for us. One tells us the actual purchase price, that's the one we signed with the buyer or with the seller. The other one, you increase it by double the amount so that we take it to the bank and then we get a higher loan. Again, you have to say, sorry, we don't do that. And your client may respect you for that, but he may not give you future work, that's quite all right. Because it's a case of saying good riddance to bad rubbish. So you need to learn to say no. You need to know what is the right thing to do, what is the wrong thing to do. And what we say here is this: always keep your lifestyle simple. Because you find that a lot of lawyers got to themselves into the problem because of the expensive lifestyle that they have entered into. Now, at any one time, you will find that there will be some lawyers in prison. Why? Because they have committed criminal breach of trust of clients' money. So what is not yours, don't touch it, don't take it, because the punishment invariably would be to be struck off the role of advocates and solicitors. You can't practice law anymore. And even if you have been suspended for a few months or for a maximum of 5 years, that is a black dot on your legal career. When you want to apply to be a judge, and anyone with 10 years experience can so apply because the GAC website has the form there. One of the searches that they will be doing would be to search with the Advocates and Solicitors Disciplinary Board. Are there any pending complaints against you? Have you had some punishment meted out to you in the past for some misconduct that you have committed? And if you have those black spots, dark spots in your life, you probably would not be considered as a candidate for it. So conduct yourself in such a manner that you don't have these kind of misconducts leveled against you, and you've been found guilty of it and having to be fined, censured, or suspended from practice, and worse still, struck off the roll altogether. Now, when it comes to competence, I think these days clients expect more from you, because before they come and see you, they would have Googled you up. In how many cases have this lawyer appeared, and what kind of reported cases has he appeared? Right? They will probably ask ChatGPT for a kind of tentative answer. And so they expect much more from you compared to my time, when they had little access to legal knowledge. And so you must be able to give client the added extra that the client is looking for in terms of strategizing to win his case perhaps, or in terms of exploring options that are available to him where ChatGPT and the other AI tools cannot help you. One of our anxious or anxieties is this. I used to tell law students, law school is not so much teaching you to cram into your head knowledge about the law, but it is teaching you how to find where the law is. But now with all this proliferation of ChatGPTs and other large language models, I have to change my quotable code. And law training is a training, perhaps, among other things, to know how to prompt and ask the right questions of whatever AI tools that you're using, and to think legally through the process of it all. We do not want a day when a student doesn't know how to add, subtract, divide, or multiply, but can give you the right answers because he uses the calculator. You see the difference there? because some might just get the right answer without knowing the path and route to that answer. And that's very dangerous, because the day will come when you have to stand up to persuade the judge, and if you are not appreciating the arguments that undergird the answers, you would not be able to persuade the court. You'll be just regurgitating whatever that the AI tool has answered to you, and that is woefully inadequate. So use AIs wisely. Always check the source. And I prefer to use one of those AI tools where they have proper footnotes. Then you can counter-check whatever is said to verify if what is said is true. Now remember that trust once broken is almost very difficult, if not impossible, to be restored. And so when your client entrusts their documents with you, when your client entrusts their stakeholders' money with you, make sure that you have a system where you know that it will only be released when the time or the conditions for its release are met. So in big firms, and that's why some people prefer big firms, they say their professional indemnity coverage is much more. In case I don't get my money, I sue them, they have the resources to pay me. If you're a one-man show, then very likely for certain kind of work, they would not see you. That's reality. But whatever it is, if you have just one person to sign off the checks, then make sure that you do not hold large sums of clients' money. Or it is better for two persons to be co-signatories so that you can perhaps check on one another before the money is being released. Now your reputation precedes you. If you ask judges, what do you talk about in your empty room? We talk about you. Sometimes we read your submissions, we say, this is a very good piece of submission. Let's see who is the counsel that will be appearing before us. And most of the time we are not disappointed, because unless you could write well, it is very difficult to be able to speak well. Now I know good speakers, or rather good writers, are not generally good speakers. Some are good speakers as well as good writers, but there are some who write better than they speak. But it is a skill that you can acquire. You can speak as good as you can write. And some of us have stage fright. It doesn't mean that lawyers don't have, but it's just that we try to overcome it. And as they use in Toastmasters language, we try to make the butterflies in our stomach fly in formation. Now, if you don't have any butterflies at all, you are probably fooling yourself, not taking your work seriously. We all have our anxieties, we all have our stress, but we have to learn to manage it. Now, the common misconduct, besides a breach of the trust that is entrusted to you with respect to clients' money, breach of solicitor's undertaking. If you say you undertake to do a particular thing, make sure you do it, because if it's a breach of solicitor's undertaking, that's a serious misconduct. So anytime or each time when you use the word undertaking in your correspondence with the other side, make sure you read it at least 5 times. Get your other colleague to read it and see whether this is a kind of undertaking that you can discharge and deliver, or whether you need to qualify that undertaking before you send the letter out. And then there is also the misconduct of a gross disregard of client's interests. It is like grossly negligent when it comes to handling a case. Perhaps you file it after limitation has set in. Perhaps it's a case where you didn't have proper KIV of filing and service of the notice of appeal on time. That kind of disregard for client's interests, which anyone with a planner or a diary can always enter and have a KIV of the last date to do a particular thing. They say lawyers are sued for negligence, not because they fail to appreciate finer points of the law, but most probably for failure to keep or diarize their dates properly with respect to appearance in court, with respect to last days to file documents, affidavits, or record a bundle of authorities, or even, more importantly, the notice of appeal as well as the memorandum of appeal. And of course, there is also the problem of fees. Be frank with client what your fees are, rather than at the end of the day quarreling over it. Now, these are some of the punishments that have been meted out by the Advocates and Solicitors Disciplinary Board, and we trust that you don't have to come near to any one of them. The worst is, of course, been struck off. There is also suspension from practice. There is also the imposition of a fine, and there is reprimand and censure. And there will always be a record cap as to your conduct in practice. There's no such thing as the right to be forgotten with respect to what your misconduct is concerned. Now, these days, lawyers will leverage on all kinds of social media to kind of market their services. There's a line to be drawn between marketing and advertising. It's good to write, it's good to have Q&A, it's good to present your papers and upload it, but be very careful not to put yourself forward too much as in advertising with respect to your success rates, etc. That is not permitted. Now, writing remains the most effective, or one of the most effective marketing tools. So before your client sees you, they would have Googled you, or they would have checked you up in LinkedIn. What is it that you have presented in terms of scholarly papers that has appeared in law journals or some other publication? If you haven't, then they also know that, all right? And so the other thing is the quality of the work you deliver. It is not how many times you have dinner with your client, it is not how many rounds of golf you play, because at the end of the day, the client can size you up and know who is actually doing the work. And if you're not doing the work, no point. You can't improve where your legal skills and experience is concerned. But if you're doing the work, then you will always be sought out by clients and prospective clients. Now, in real life, you would have to set aside time to do pro bono work, because that is part of what we now call the ESG emphasis of the firm. There is nothing great to shout about when it comes to serving paying clients. But there are many people with problems with the law who cannot afford your services, but who nevertheless need your help. And so you cover a department in your firm, or you set it up on your own, where you do pro bono work. And that's the kind of work that at the end of the day would probably give you much more satisfaction and fulfillment compared to your paid work. So every lawyer must have, if you ask me, perhaps some volunteering in legal aid services, and I'm more than glad to hear that you have your legal aid clinics projects and your projects with other NGO groups. And that's a good thing for you to volunteer your time as well as your services. Now, in conclusion, I want to say a few things. Never stop learning. The mind is like a parachute. It works best when it's open. So always keep an open mind. Don't shut it out and say there's only one way to think about this problem. There could be various approaches. And when your mind is growing, you are healthy, mentally speaking. The other day we were talking with some friends and they say, before so-and-so get promoted, we must also send him not just for physical checkup, but mental checkup. Why? Because sometimes we think that perhaps mentally we are overstressed. So we need to have a good mental health, just like lawyers in practice, having to battle all kinds of pressure. Now, be a specialist of some kind after a while, because you cannot know everything about the law, and you have to choose between knowing more and more of less and less, or knowing less and less of more and more. It's an inversion of words, but knowing more and more of less and less is kind of specialization. Knowing less and less of more and more is you try to read up generally on every subject, but you end up being a jack of all trades. So after a while, you may have to specialize in some areas of law that you are passionate about, so that you can go deep into the subject. Now, there is no substitute for hard work. I used to tell people you have to create something where you put it in between your ears and then everything in the book will be transferred to your mind. Perhaps you are close to it when it comes to AI now. But again, it needs to be processed by your mind. And that requires sitting down to read the full case, not just the 8 notes of the case. We realize that a lot of law students, when they graduate, they are not able to discuss certain aspects of the law with us because they only read lecturers' notes. But nothing to denigrate lecturers about their notes, some of them are very good. But they only read perhaps that and 8 notes and memorize. That's the wrong way of studying law. You don't grow as a lawyer that way. And the right way is to sit down and read the whole case and associate the name of the judge with the person that you see, whether it be his photo or whether it be his name. And after that, you can never forget who wrote the judgment, because the power of association is so strong. So if you read my judgment, and then you know I have a certain style of writing, and after a while you would know that this case is my case. Right? Same with another judge. If you know how he looks like, and you read the whole judgment, you find him speaking to you, and at the end of the day, you can't forget the case. A lady judge, a colleague of ours who have retired, was telling someone, also another colleague, when I read your judgment, I can imagine you speaking to me. And that's the essence of it all. And that is something that you don't get if you just read 8 notes of the case. So from today onwards, for goodness sake, sit down and read the whole case. And it is nothing that you can remember about my speech, just remember this. Sit down and read the whole case. Don't go for shortcuts. Now, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. All right? So always be prepared for your case, because if you're not prepared, you open your mouth to submit, the judge hears you, and if you're not prepared and you can't answer the questions, they'll remember you as someone who didn't prepare thoroughly for your case. So you don't have a second opportunity to make a first impression. And then to round up, the biggest room is a room for improvement. And none of us can say we have arrived. I'm still learning every day what the law is. The other day, counsel submitted, there are certain events that happen after the date of judgment that might be relevant when it comes to assessment of damages. We haven't quite looked at it that way, and so we are learning something new. So I hope that you will always be forever learning, and your lecturers there are there to guide you. They are your mentors. Sit down with them, discuss the law with them, interact with them. So on that note, I wish you all the very best in your legal studies. Enjoy every moment of it. There are many who would like to be in your position, but because of their grades they couldn't qualify, or because of their financial position, they couldn't afford the fees. A wise teacher once said, everyone to whom much is given, of him will much be required. So you're given a lot in terms of opportunities to better yourself, to equip yourself, to gain the knowledge and experience in the law. So use it to the fullest, and hopefully one day very soon you will graduate as a lawyer and practice law, whether it be in corporations or in the judicial and legal service or in private practice. Thank you.
Thank you, Yanari, for an enlightening lecture and advice for our students. I think a lot of us Googled what notebook LM was earlier, actually. I would like to now once again invite Mr. Kevin Leong onto the stage to present a token of appreciation to Young Arif. Young Arif, can you please have you on stage, please? Thank you, Yanari, and thank you, Mr. Kevin. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Legal Careers Fair 2025 has now officially commenced. All exhibition booths are set up on level 1 and 2. You may access level 1 through the staircase down the corridor. Please help yourselves with the light refreshments that will be provided from 1 p.m. onwards on level 1. Feel free to approach any of the ATC staffs for assistance should you need one. Thank you once again for joining us, and we truly hope that you will have a fulfilling experience at ATC's Legal Careers Fair. Thank you once again, Young Arif. Have a good day, ladies and gentlemen.
you.